Sometimes in the NFL, karma hits harder than a linebacker blitz. The Cleveland Browns just learned this lesson the most painful way possible, and it all started with a rookie quarterback who thought he was too good for the Baltimore Ravens. Back in April's draft, the Ravens had their eyes on Shedeur Sanders. They planned to select him with the 141st pick in the 5th round. Baltimore saw Sanders as a smart backup plan for Lamar Jackson and maybe even a future trade piece if he developed well. But here's where things get interesting. Sanders didn't want any part of Baltimore. According to ESPN's report, Sanders made it clear he didn't want to sit behind a two-time MVP like Lamar Jackson. He wanted to go somewhere he could play right away. The Ravens were so unsure about Sanders' interests that they made a weird trade, moving back 5 spots just to buy themselves time. They traded their 4th-round pick and a 6th-rounder to Tennessee for a 5th-round pick and another 6th-rounder. At the time, Ravens GM Eric DeCosta called it an analytics thing and gave some long explanation that didn't make much sense. The real reason was simple. Baltimore was trying to reach Sanders and see if he actually wanted to be there. They weren't going to waste a pick on a player who would become a distraction. When they couldn't get confirmation from Sanders, they moved on and picked Alabama A&M offensive lineman Carson Vinson instead. 3 picks later, the Browns swooped in and grabbed Sanders at pick 144. Cleveland had already taken Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, so Saturday became their quarterback shopping day. They even traded up with Seattle to make sure they got Sanders, beating the Philadelphia Eagles by just 1 spot. Fast forward to this past Sunday, and the karma train arrived right on schedule. The Browns traveled to Baltimore for Week 2, and Joe Flacco had what might be the worst game of his entire career. The 40-year-old quarterback looked every bit his age against his former team. Flacco completed just 25 of 45 passes for a measly 199 yards. He threw 1 touchdown and 1 interception, but the touchdown was pure luck. The ball should have been picked off by Marlon Humphrey, but it bounced right off his hands and into Cedric Tillman's arms in the end zone. The real damage came from Flacco's complete inability to move. The Ravens knew exactly how to attack their former quarterback. They dropped 7 defenders into coverage and dared Flacco to make plays with his feet. Everyone in the stadium knew that wasn't happening. Flacco went 0 for 5 passing outside the pocket with an interception. His numbers were so bad that it marked the worst expected points added per dropback outside the pocket of his entire career. But the Ravens weren't done. They forced a fumble from Flacco that linebacker Roquan Smith returned 63 yards for a touchdown. The final score read 41-17, but it felt even worse than that for Cleveland. The Browns' defense actually played well, holding Lamar Jackson and Baltimore to just 242 total yards. But when your offense can't move the ball and keeps giving the other team short fields, even a good defense can't save you. Meanwhile, Sanders sat on the bench as the emergency quarterback, watching the team that wanted to draft him destroy the team he chose instead. After the game, reporters asked Sanders about the draft day report. His response was telling. Sanders said his memory doesn't go back that far and that he's focused on the present. He acted like the draft happened years ago instead of just 5 months earlier. The most painful part for Browns fans came in garbage time. With the game already decided, coach Kevin Stefanski pulled Flacco and put in rookie Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel immediately looked more comfortable than Flacco had all day. He went 3 for 3 passing and led a touchdown drive, throwing an 8-yard scoring pass to Dylan Sampson. In just a few plays, Gabriel moved the offense more smoothly than anyone had seen all season. Browns fans started calling for Gabriel to start in Week 3, but coach Kevin Stefanski shut that down quickly. When asked about making a quarterback change, Stefanski said it wasn't fair to talk about that right now. He stuck with the classic coach speak about winning and losing as a team. But you could see the wheels turning. The hourglass on Flacco's time as starter had officially been flipped. The upcoming schedule makes things even more interesting for Cleveland. They face the Green Bay Packers next week, followed by road games against Detroit, Minnesota, in London, and Pittsburgh. The Browns haven't won a regular season game in Pittsburgh in over 20 years. If Stefanski was going to make a change, the October 19th game against Miami looks like the most realistic spot. What makes Sanders' situation even more ironic is how the Browns are handling his development. According to CBS analyst Ross Tucker, Cleveland has what they call an airtight plan for their rookie quarterbacks. They run an extra period after practice so Sanders can get 8 to 10 reps every day. The plan is detailed down to the minute. But here's the kicker. Sanders isn't even taking scout team snaps, which is usually what the third-string quarterback does. The criticism of Sanders' draft day decision has been harsh. Former NFL quarterback Cam Newton called him out on ESPN, saying the ideal situation for any young quarterback would be learning behind someone like Lamar Jackson. Newton pointed out that Jackson is a two-time MVP who's still just 28 years old. What better mentor could a rookie ask for?
Can I say this? And I think if I'm Shedeur, you would ideally want to learn behind a guy like Lamar Jackson for this particular reason and this particular reason.
Instead, Sanders chose Cleveland, a franchise that hasn't developed a quarterback successfully in 25 years. The Browns' decision-making hasn't helped either. They traded away Kenny Pickett before the season and decided to start a 40-year-old quarterback who can barely move. They traded down from the second pick in the draft and spent their top 2 picks on defense instead of trying to fix their broken offense. The results speak for themselves. Cleveland is now 0-2 and has lost 8 straight games dating back to last season. In their last 20 regular season games, the Browns are 3-17. They've scored more than 17 points just 4 times in those 20 games, and 10 of those losses came by double digits. After the Ravens game, Browns star defensive end Myles Garrett summed up the team's situation perfectly. He said the performance was embarrassing and that they need to be better as a team. The Ravens, meanwhile, are thriving. They're considered Super Bowl contenders and just celebrated their championship history before crushing the team that their rejected draft pick ended up joining. Baltimore has won 2 Super Bowl titles in 30 years, while Cleveland continues to search for their first playoff win since 1994. Sanders bet on himself and lost. He turned down a stable organization with a championship culture because he didn't want to wait his turn. Now he's buried on the depth chart of one of the NFL's worst offenses, watching from the sideline as the Ravens prove they didn't need him anyway. The grass he thought would be greener in Cleveland has turned out to be nothing but dirt. The most telling part of this whole story might be how Sanders handled the questions after the game. For someone who's focused on the present, he sure seemed uncomfortable talking about a decision he made just 5 months ago. Maybe that's because, deep down, he knows he made the wrong choice. Joe Flacco summed up the Browns' offensive struggles when he said they don't need to score 50 points every night, just enough to let the defense do their job. The problem is that 50 points might be a good month for this Cleveland offense, not a single game. And while Sanders sits and waits for his chance, the Ravens are busy proving that sometimes patience and respect for established players pays off better than demanding immediate gratification.
And on first down, Burrow under pressure, down he goes! Guess who?
Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season was supposed to be a fresh start for the Cleveland Browns. New quarterback, renewed optimism, home field. And for much of the game, it looked like they might finally kick things off with a statement win. But as the scoreboard showed a 17-16 final in favor of the Cincinnati Bengals, one truth remained impossible to ignore: Myles Garrett is still that guy. The 2025 NFL season began at Huntington Bank Field, where the Cleveland Browns hosted the Cincinnati Bengals. For most of the game, the Browns looked like the better team. The defense forced pressure, slowed Burrow's passing attack, and created chances to control the game. Yet, mistakes on offense erased all that effort. 2 costly turnovers from veteran quarterback Joe Flacco stalled drives and gifted momentum back to Cincinnati. Those errors proved too much to overcome, and Cleveland started its season in disappointment. But while the scoreboard delivered bad news, one player's performance stood tall above the loss. Myles Garrett reminded everyone why he is the Browns' foundation. From the first snap, Garrett was relentless. The defensive end finished his night with 5 total tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 5 pressures, and 2 sacks on Joe Burrow. His timing was perfect, his speed off the edge was sharp, and his energy never wavered. Each snap looked like a chance for Garrett to make something happen. Those 2 sacks against Burrow weren't ordinary plays, they were tone-setting moments. With each takedown, the Cleveland crowd roared, and the Bengals' offensive line looked rattled. By the end of the night, Garrett had boosted his career total against Burrow to 12 sacks in 9 matchups, proof of a rivalry where one defender clearly has the edge. Since entering the league, Garrett has been a model of consistency. Beginning in 2018, he has delivered double-digit sack seasons every single year. His peak production came in 2021 and 2022, when he hit 16 sacks in back-to-back campaigns. Now, in his 9th season, Garrett is showing that he has no plans of slowing down. Week 1 put him on track to continue that streak with authority. Even more impressive is Garrett's steady rise on the all-time sack list. Sunday's performance lifted his career total to 104.5, enough to tie him with Kevin Carter and Neil Smith for 53rd place in NFL history. That milestone is a reminder that Garrett is not only one of today's best, but also climbing into the company of legends. For the Browns, this game could have been a statement win. Cincinnati entered the night with questions about its offensive consistency and a history of early season struggles. The Bengals had dropped 2 straight season openers coming into 2025, including one against Cleveland in 2023. The Browns had the chance to extend that streak but let it slip away. Still, even in defeat, Garrett's performance shone as the clear silver lining. His relentless effort turned what could have been a forgettable night into a showcase of defensive dominance. The Browns' offense may have faltered, but their defensive leader reminded the league of his unique value. Without Garrett's disruption, the loss could have been far worse. Garrett's dominance carries extra weight considering his recent history with the franchise. Only a short time ago, he was vocal about considering a departure from Cleveland. Years of losing seasons, shaky offense, and wasted defensive effort left him frustrated. Fans wondered if they had seen the last of their superstar in brown and orange. But the Browns stepped up. Ahead of this season, the team secured Garrett with a massive contract extension, guaranteeing his future in Cleveland and signaling a commitment to build around him. The Rays changed Garrett's outlook, turning doubts into long-term stability. For the fans, it meant one thing: no matter what else happens, they have a generational star locked in. Sunday's performance proved why that extension mattered. Even in a game where his team's offense failed to deliver when needed, Garrett gave everything. He pushed, fought, and created opportunities that kept Cleveland within striking distance. That type of leadership cannot be bought cheaply. It has to be earned through years of play, and Garrett has done just that. On the other sideline, Cincinnati left with a win but not much comfort. The Bengals were far from dominant. Burrow looked uneasy under pressure, their offensive line cracked repeatedly, and their usually explosive offense never fully clicked. Without the Browns' mistakes, Cincinnati could have easily walked away 0-1 for the 3rd straight season. For Burrow, the constant presence of Garrett was a nightmare. Every time he dropped back, he had to adjust, hurry his release, or absorb a hit. Facing Garrett has become a familiar problem for him, and it continues to tilt games in Cleveland's favor, even when the Browns cannot capitalize. One of the most compelling stories in the AFC North is the personal battle between Garrett and Burrow. Garrett has faced plenty of quarterbacks, but against Burrow, he seems to reach another gear. 12 sacks in 9 games is not an accident, it's a pattern, and it highlights just how difficult life is for Cincinnati whenever Garrett is on the other side of the line. For fans, this duel has become a highlight of Browns-Bengals matchups. Each time these teams meet, the question isn't just about the final score, it's whether Burrow can finally escape Garrett's grip. So far, the defender continues to write his dominance into the rivalry's history. As Garrett enters the middle stretch of his career, legacy starts to matter. Every sack, every milestone, every performance like this pushes him closer to Hall of Fame conversations. In the hours after the game, reactions poured in. Browns fans were torn between anger at the loss and pride in Garrett's brilliance. Social media lit up with clips of his sacks, slow-motion replays of his hits, and graphics celebrating his move up the all-time list. Even rival fans admitted that Garrett's performance was something special. For Cleveland supporters, the message was clear. Their star defender is still at the top of his game. And for a franchise often weighed down by struggles, that kind of certainty means everything. The Browns don't have much time to focus on the loss. The season is long, and bigger tests are coming. The offense must correct its mistakes quickly, or else more wasted defensive efforts could follow. Joe Flacco needs sharper decision-making, and the playmakers around him must step up. But while questions linger on offense, one answer is already clear. Garrett will bring it every week. He's already in mid-season form. He's already disrupting quarterbacks. He's already chasing another double-digit sack year. The rest of the team has to match his standard. If they do, Cleveland can still make this season one to remember. Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season may not have ended in victory for the Browns, but it reminded the league of something vital. Myles Garrett is still a force of nature. He showed that he remains among the NFL's elite. Cleveland's offense has work to do. Their path forward depends on fixing turnovers and finding rhythm. But their defense, led by Garrett, is already ready for the challenge. He isn't just chasing numbers, he's chasing greatness. The league has been warned, Garrett is coming, and this story, it's just getting started.
I actually watch to see who he goes and celebrates with. Because what did I do? I looked for my offensive lineman every time. I went down and celebrated in the end zone with my teammates every time. I wanted everyone to feel like they were part of the success. I told the lineman, we're all running to the end zone and we're celebrating as a team. Because I think that's way more intimidating than a quarterback doing his six-shooter guns and pointing up in the crowd and doing all that other bullshit that's very self-promotional, but it's not about winning.
Tom Brady has shocked the NFL. His new comments about quarterbacks have fans, players, and reporters all talking. Some say he was aiming at Shedeur Sanders, but this story is bigger than one player. It's about respect, style, and what football should look like today. Tom Brady is a 7-time Super Bowl champion, a Hall of Fame lock, and for years, the face of the NFL. But his recent remarks turned him into the center of controversy. In an interview with Chris Collinsworth, Brady was asked how he judges quarterbacks. His answer caught everyone's attention. Brady explained that he values quarterbacks who celebrate with teammates instead of showing off. He said that kind of behavior shows respect for the players who made the touchdown possible. To him, celebrating with linemen was always more powerful than flashy solo moves. He never mentioned Shedeur Sanders, but the connection was clear. Sanders, son of Deion, Coach Prime Sanders, is known for his bold wrist flex celebration. To some, Brady's comments sounded like an old-school critique of today's players. To others, it felt deeper, a shot at young black quarterbacks who bring personality and branding to the game. Brady's critique came during Monday's sit-down with Collinsworth. He said he watches quarterbacks closely, not just how they throw, but how they act after scoring. When a quarterback throws a touchdown pass, I actually watch to see who he goes and celebrates with. I looked for my offensive lineman every time, he said. That was a clear message about teamwork. But Brady didn't stop there. He mocked the flashy celebrations common in today's NFL. A quarterback doing his six-shooter guns and pointing up in the crowd and doing all that other bull's that's very self-promotional, he said. Many fans immediately pointed to Shedeur Sanders, the Cleveland Browns rookie. Sanders has built a bold image. His two legendary brand, his draft party in Texas, and his on-field swagger all show confidence. Brady's choice of words made it sound personal. Brady's approach fit his career. He was known for controlled celebrations and a laser focus on the team. But football has changed. Players like Sanders connect with fans through expression. Shedeur Sanders isn't just any rookie. At 23, he entered the NFL with enormous expectations, thanks to his father, Deion Sanders, and his standout college career. He also brought a level of confidence that not everyone appreciated. Sanders skipped the 2025 NFL draft ceremony in Green Bay, choosing instead to host his own party in Canton, Texas. He arrived wearing his own brand, too legendary, and surrounded himself with family, friends, and fans. That same swagger shows up on the field. His watch flex has already become one of the most talked about celebrations in football. The Raiders, where Brady is now a minority owner, passed on Sanders multiple times before trading for Geno Smith. Sanders eventually fell to the Browns in the 5th round, pick 144. Some wonder if Brady's preference for team-first quarterbacks influenced those decisions. Now Sanders enters the NFL as the Browns' third-string quarterback, behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel. His playing time might be limited, but his presence is impossible to ignore. For fans, Sanders represents a new kind of quarterback, flashy, confident, and unafraid to stand out. For Brady, that style seems to cross the line. The reaction to Brady's comments was swift. Many fans accused him of targeting black quarterbacks who use celebrations to express themselves. Analysts brought up not only Shedeur Sanders but also Deshaun Watson and others known for their showmanship. Critics argued Brady's words carried a double standard. White quarterbacks who celebrated with energy were often praised as fiery leaders, but when black quarterbacks celebrated with flair, they were called selfish. This pattern has existed for decades across sports, from Cam Newton's dab dance to Colin Kaepernick's protest. Brady may have intended to emphasize teamwork, but mocking these gestures came across as dismissive. Social media debates exploded. Some fans defended Brady, saying he was promoting a team-first attitude. Others accused him of being out of touch with a new generation of players. The controversy shows how celebrations aren't just about football, they're about identity. For many black quarterbacks, they are a way to show pride and connect with fans. By criticizing them, Brady walked into a much larger debate than he may have expected. Brady's comments struck a nerve because they tie into a bigger issue in the NFL: how black quarterbacks are judged. For years, they've faced more scrutiny than their white counterparts. Critics often question their leadership, their style, and their celebrations. The history is clear. Cam Newton's dances drew outrage. Colin Kaepernick's protests nearly ended his career. Meanwhile, white quarterbacks who showed emotion